Hello. Hello, and welcome to Otherworld Connections. Hello, and welcome to Otherworld Connections. I'm your host, Gino, and you're tuned in to Revolution.radio. And here in New Zealand, on the Central Plateau of the North Island of New Zealand, west of the Great Lake Taupo. It is 2 p.m., 3 minutes past 2 p.m. on Friday, the 29th. And where you are, it's probably around 10 p.m. Well, it's 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes. And you're probably chilling on a Thursday night. And I always feel like I'm missing something. Trying to organize all my screens. I just don't know if it's that possible. But yeah, how you all doing tonight? Got Julia telling me we're live on YouTube. I was meant to send a little link. Maybe I'll do that now. One moment. Camera only. YouTube. So today / tonight, wherever you are, I do want to talk about bullying. I just can't get that out of my experience and out of my head. Thinking about bullying, what the world could be like without it. Let's just go to my page first. View channel. Alright, copy that. Shut that down. Come over to... So yeah, Revolution Radio is on Discord. You can follow the link to the Discord on... on the website, revolution.radio. I've got to get better at multitasking now that I've gone to video and live platforms and all that sort of thing. Live dowsing and card reading, something like that. On Studio A with Gino. Put my link there for anyone that may be interested. Yeah, all right. Looks like everything's going fine. So yes, I just got off the phone to one of my brothers, and he is concerned about his son being bullied in the preschool. And it all sounded like a familiar story to me, because of what goes on in the centres. I've seen it, I've lived it, and we've all been there ourselves. But yeah, one of the teachers that he held in a relatively high regard left, and obviously if a teacher leaves a centre, that's not a good sign for all you parents out there, especially if it's one that you respect. That means that there's stuff going on that it's just not worth their energy and emotional capacity to be dealing with anymore. It'd be more important to them to finish with all the relationships and affect the lives of the children that they're making positive effects on, and cut all that off and start all over again to build relationships. So that's the gravity, in my opinion, of the situation when a teacher leaves. Sure, we can sit here and we can say that, schools and early learning centres and stuff are indoctrination centres and they're evil, and if you work for them you're a shill, and you got to get your kids out of there and all that. Well, all of that may be true, but nevertheless we're talking on a relationship level, human to human. Okay, it doesn't mean I'm saying that that I endorse that whole paradigm. Absolutely not. But if you put it another way, if you're in a community, say you were in magical anarchy land where there was the only rulers were every individual taking rulership and ownership and responsibility of their own actions and how they operate in society or in the community. Imagine then if there was someone in a position of respect as a guide or what have you, whatever word you want to use that sounds, apolitically correct, for what we all know, those in the truth movement and the alternative media and so on and so forth, the freedom movement. What would it say about that little slice of society there if one of these guides or teachers said, you know what, this ain't worth my time, I'm out of here, dude. So it's, speaking of interpersonal stuff that's just not worth the bother of the teacher. It could have just been, she wanted to go traveling or something, but it wasn't. So we know that much. Well, at least I know. She's just gone to work for another centre or get out of teaching altogether because she's had enough. And so since she left, this is also a reason why it's good to have a buddy on the inside if your kids do go to one of these centres. I'm getting that clicky thing. I get this clicky thing on all my audio gear. Oh well, it's clicky, and that's how it is. So he's been getting bullied. And basically my brother doesn't want his son, my nephew, to be somebody that starts being victimized. And it speaks to something broader, which I was trying to browbeat into my brother as I'm talking to him on the phone, is that, well, it's what do you want? What do you want your kid to be? And I was like, and he didn't really answer, but I was like, well, really, you want your kid to be somebody that stands up to bullies and doesn't take any SHIT, right? And he's like, absolutely. So that's what it comes down to. And this is already tough, right? Because people that have been victimized, seeing other people victimized, it's triggering of the victim mentality, that powerlessness. And we see that, and in my opinion, this LGBTQ movement is just an extension, in my opinion, of the bully victim paradigm that we live in. There are other things too, like religion and stuff like that, like weaponizing the bully, empowering bullies even further. And the reason I'm saying this is the bully at the play centre is a 4-year-old, they, them, she, tray, nay, nabalale, HIJKLMNOP, a boy that wears a dress, that identifies as a woman or a girl, or I don't even want to know. So how much of that is why this thing gets to go around beating everybody up and is essentially untouchable? Well, my nephew's a gentle boy and quiet, and that's totally fine. But one thing I do know is that inside every boy is a warrior, and same with inside every girl. And that energy to deal with, or that power, that capacity to deal with violence is encoded into every single one of us. I do think that it's probably a little bit more buried or a little bit less prevalent in others, and depending, like traits, right? Everybody has a percentage of traits. Like thinking like Dungeons and Dragons, right? These role-playing, these RPG games. You can choose to be the brute warrior, or you can choose to be the wizard, and the wizard's got that little bit less. He's got the little bit less attack damage and strength or whatever, but he's got like the high other things, so he can then learn spells, and then further down the track he can cause a lot of damage once he's got all the spells up or whatever. But I just mean that everyone's different, right? But everyone's on the level in the sense that whatever we have the capacity to do as humans, we all have the capacity and potential to do as individuals. I don't know, it's tricky. Like, I mean, I can't really get it out of my head just how to deal with it, because in a lot of ways, the ideal way to deal with it is not possible. It is a community issue, right? That the other parents, they don't want to do anything about it. They claim some solidarity with my brother. Like, they don't like that it's happening. Yeah, they don't like that it's going on. Everybody's playing it down. My nephew doesn't want to go to preschool anymore. And it was his favourite place to go. And this is classic. This is the kind of thing, it's just not good. It's not good. This is where all problems start. The bully unchecked and the victim unchecked. Okay? Anyway, my brother's doing something about it, right? But it's game on now. The clock is ticking. 3 years old to 5 years old is probably, I mean, obviously newborn babies, that's really, we do take that for granted. Like, the mum takes charge and makes sure everything's happening right. Obviously, that's when a baby's most vulnerable. We do take it for granted because there's a mother there protecting, and nurturing and nourishing. And it's kind of like it's very natural, dare I say. Once, you sort of let go of your kids a little bit, like drop them off at places and that sort of thing, this is probably, in my opinion, the most vulnerable and the most crucial time. Also with the brain development, this is where you're going to get a sense of self-belief, self-worth, confidence, that part of the brain that deals with, things that you need self-worth and confidence for, like having aspirations and dreams and goal setting and those kinds of things. All this stuff all these capacities in the brain are growing, and these neural pathways are trying to make those things happen, are making the pathways that make those things happen or not, really, or those potentials be possible or not, in the correct pathways, not compartmentalizing through traumas. So it's like the most important thing, most important time. So I feel for my brother. I mean, the clock is ticking, trying to get a handle on this bullying. It's serious. It's extremely serious. So my brother's distraught, and obviously it's kind of disempowering, because whatever he's going to do about it now, it's going to be on him. That's how this bully thing works, right? No one wants to speak out against it, because also there's the rainbow flag there in the way, right? So there's a shield, a tribal shield to protect the perpetrator. Because what would you be standing against? Would you be standing against bullying? Or would you be standing against LGBTQ? Would you be standing against that? Well, a lot of times it's going to be both. Because this tribal behavior, which is not exclusive to the LGBTQ community, but it's an excuse to behave against others. to hurt other people emotionally or spiritually, or to empower yourself to have more power than others, which is what we see with this whole trans thing. So, what are the options? I don't know. I mean, in a way, it's like how long is a piece of string? But the point is, he can go down to the center and be the squeaky wheel. I mean, that is going to help in the sense that they're going to have to accept that it is a problem for him, for my brother, and then he's not going to let it just be. But if he's the only one saying that, it doesn't look great on him, even though his son's not the only one being bullied. But as I've always said, and this is what they do in the centres, in New Zealand at least, I believe the Commonwealth is very similar. In America, I don't know if you guys have this already or not, or if it's coming. It's basically, there's no Second Amendment. Like that's the key. That's the key to early childhood education. Everybody, kids, there's no Second Amendment. You don't get to do anything. You don't get to stand up for yourself. That's not everyone that does stuff to you. Well, there's a reason for that. Okay, so that's what they're taught. That's what the kids are taught. Because my nephew knows that when someone hits him, he's supposed to say stop. Imagine that. Imagine that. You walk down the street, someone starts beating on you, and you get to say, it's like common law, right? Say the magic word and everything will go away. Everything will magically disappear. Yay! I said stop and you're not listening. No! And it's true. So I suspect people that are into common law were not bullied when they were younger. That's my guess. That's my guess. Or maybe they were and it's some reverse Jungian projection thing. I'm going to figure that out. But yeah, the magic word doesn't, it's the energy, right? Because another child that I know doesn't get bullied, but she also doesn't put her hands on anybody to stop them. She just brings down the rage of 1,000 suns and just goes, "Yeah, stop it!" And then they're like, "Oh my God, this one's crazy. We're going to leave her alone." And that's fantastic. So it's about empowering children to deal with things how their spirit wants to deal with them. Yeah. And that's the challenge. So, I mean, this is all easier said than done because it's going to take time. But in my brother's case, he's like, "Oh, so what do you do when someone does that?" And then, his son says, "Well, I say, stop it, I don't like it." And put my hands in front of me. "Stop it, I don't like it." And then my brother said, "No, you're supposed to smash them in the face." And that's true. I reckon that's true, right? Well, that's one option. But here's the problem. And this is a critique. That it's a critique, it's not a judgment, because it's so hard to do. And it's so hard to learn. And I learned this from just making so many mistakes with other people's children as a teacher. Instead of saying, because if you tell a child, this is the thing about indoctrination, and this is especially important for everybody in the truth movement. I've seen all the books, guys, you guys try to send me. You guys try to show me, "Oh, you got to read this book. You got to read this book." Guess what? I'm not reading any of those books because, I'm sorry, but these people in the truth movement that put truth movement topics into kids' books, it's just indoctrination. You're not supposed to directly instruct a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old in what to do, because what you're saying to them, it's a subconscious thing. What you're actually saying to them is, you're too dumb to know how to deal with this. And between 2 and 7, that's the opposite of the message that you want to be giving them. So there's all these well-intentions, like I'm being a bit harsh now, but I'm just so sick of all this bullying stuff and people just going straight to indoctrination as a solution to kids for everything. It's so, it's disrespectful to humans. It's disrespectful to humanity to just be like, oh, we need to teach the kids are the future. Yeah, here's this crappy book that I wrote. Here's this crappy book where I wrote, and I just put like I don't know, I just put some animal as the caricature because kids like animals, right? And then the kid's just going to say, oh, you got to vote for Donald Trump because Biden's a meanie. Like, what is that? Okay? No. If you care about kids and you want to change, it's hard work. That's why there's a thing called pedagogy and the study of the, child development, and there are all these experts out there and there are all these books, because it's this minefield of, or this rabbit hole of information. And there's, child psychology is a thing, and trying to figure out how to go about it the right thing, it's not easy. So it's not easy for parents. It's not easy being an adult trying to get it right for a child. But yes, in the conversation, you have to try to lead the child to themselves and to their own common sense, because they are more attached to common sense, aka universal understanding, aka actions that are acceptable or work alongside what is, as in natural law, the operating system, the conditions in which we live in. Young children are most magnetized to the correct actions. Their magnet is stronger to align to the correct actions. So what they need are obviously parents that love and care for them and that want to spend time with them and then want them to do well. And that's going to help. So in the conversation, if you say to your child, like, what do you do when somebody does that? And they say, some really stink strategy, some loser strategy that the teachers, indoctrinated them into, which has got nothing to do with natural law at all whatsoever. And then you say, well, does that work? Because you know it doesn't, right? So does it work? And what is the child going to say? Well, you're going to have to try it for yourself. But obviously, if it doesn't work, the child knows it doesn't work. And the child will say, well, it doesn't work. And it's like, well, what else can you do? I'll support you. I love you. I'll support you. I know you know what to do. I know you know how to do what's right. And I support you, whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you want. Don't worry about the teachers. Don't worry about the other kids. Don't worry about anything. I support you. Something like that, and that's where I've had success. I've never had success telling them, and I've done this. I've said, oi, go back and smack that kid how he smacked you. It's never worked that way. It's never worked. It's got to be in the moment, in the motion, and then the angels and the fairies are there in the moment to help, and that's how it works. And the victim always will come out on top, dealing with it in the correct way in the correct moment. And that's just my opinion and my belief, but it's based on real life, true experience, and a lot of mistakes. But I've wanted to get to the bottom of this thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much hope for the world when you've got like 4-year-olds wearing dresses going around beating everybody up, and everybody is bowing down to it, including adults. That's horrendous, right? What world's that going to be? when they grow up. Personally, I think there's probably not going to be one. I don't think there's going to be a world if that's what it's like now. Yeah, so bullying, it's very bad. So just a brief talk about solutions. Well, that is a solution, in my opinion, is to have that conversation and to keep trying to direct the conversation into just talking about bringing up solutions that are not brought up by the adult but are brought up by the child, and with alongside affirmations of "I love you" and "I support you." And I'm so excited for tomorrow to hear about how your day went, and I know that you'll know how to deal with it, and it'll be fine, and that sort of thing, yeah. Because unfortunately, direct instruction, it's not ideal in most cases. Rudolf Steiner and the Rosicrucian Mystery School, they talk about this bond being religious, a religious bond between adult and child, which is what especially a toddler needs, an actual bind to an adult. And a lot of these kids don't get it. I mean, the one going around, like the saddest case in all of this is the bully, right? This boy that wears a dress and thinks he's a girl and is extremely aggressive to everybody. He does not have the bind with an adult. He's not bound to anybody because he doesn't have anyone to love and respect in his life that he wants to attach to. And I know it's a cliche, but it is like, well, for lack of a better term, like a cry for help, where behaving like this is supposed to bring to him, is supposed to bring to him the adult that loves and cares for him and that wants him to do better and that wants the best for him, so then he can attach to that. I mean, he's not actively thinking that, but these explanations become the excuse, right? They become the reason for his behavior. So when someone's victimized by him, that's the story we tell ourselves. Oh, it's just because of that. Don't worry about it. No, do worry about it. Kid needs a smack from other kids, at least. At least. It's true. And then everybody else, any other grown-ups that he goes running to, they say, oh, yeah, you deserve that. Why would you do that? Better not smack me. Yes. Yeah. So one thing, if you obviously part of the whole spending time, your time and attention on your children, is so important. I mean, even scarier and even more difficult than that, because I even said to my brother, it's like, well, what do you do? Like, what do you do about bullies in your life? A lot of the times we want our kids to not make the mistakes that we make in our life, and it's not possible. We're supposed to change that for ourselves in order to change that. And I'm not trying to be poetic, and I'm not trying to be philosophical here. It's just exactly how it works. If you're the kind of person that goes out of your way to stick up to bullying that you see happening in the world, then that's, and you spend time with your kid or kids, then that's gonna transfer on to them. They're going to be that kind of person. But if you don't do something about bullying in your life, then you can't expect your kid to just magically not do that themselves. Now, I'm not saying that that's what my brother does, but it's also to put things into perspective, that this kind of stuff does happen in life, and you've got to have a line in the sand. And maybe your child's being bullied, and that your child's line in the sand there's no firm line, or you don't see the line and you want to put the line down somewhere. But you have to accept that your child's going to put it where they want it because of who they are, because of the XP points that they came in with as, like Dungeons as a role-playing game. And they've come into this planet, they've got a certain number of points that allocated to different skill sets, and all the XP points are put there, and obviously they can all grow and that sort of thing. But you can't want your child to be like Conan the Barbarian if he likes reading books and just doing quiet stuff and painting. There's some Conan the Barbarian in him, but whatever cards he was dealt, he didn't get many XP points on the Conan the Barbarian energy stuff. I don't know, strength, attack, or whatever. And all of that's okay. It doesn't mean that your child's supposed to be a victim. But I guess what I mean is that it's even more hard as a parent to not transfer this sort of ideal onto your child, because they're still coming online, right? They're still trying to individuate. They're going to come online when they're 7 years old, but before 7, it's a little bit, it's a bit like a lottery in a way. Like you kind of feel like you don't know what you're going to get because they're pre-conscious. So yeah, the solution is to spend more time and also to do something about it yourself. So in my brother's case, I don't know if he's doing this anymore, but he's better off going to martial arts classes himself. So his son sees him do that as part of his life, and that's going to mean that when he's older, his son is older, it's going to be a normal thing in his mind or in his life and his experience to go, oh, well, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. My dad used to always go to kickboxing or whatever. I used to go and watch him. I want to do kickboxing too. That's like a normal, healthy thing for me to do when I'm older. You may disagree with that. I'm delivering it not in the best way, but you know what your child sees you doing, like what your 3-year-old sees you doing in the moment is really rubbing off on them. That's what I'm saying. The other thing that's really, really good is there are places, at least in New Zealand, well, there are places that, boxing, martial arts classes that do start classes for 5-year-olds. That is fantastic. And I think in 2025, if you've got half a clue about how the world is and where the world's going and what the world's like, and you have half a clue about spirituality, then you should be putting your child in martial arts classes. Absolutely. And you should be yourself. You really should. Just for your own self-confidence, self-esteem, and resilience to bullying. And, people don't have to beat the, say there's a bully, well, maybe that bully is not worth your time beating up and having all the headache of dealing with all these people that don't know what they're talking about. What I'm trying to say is a lot of martial artists, like really experienced and qualified ones, they don't hurt a lot of people, even when people hit them. You ever gone up to a professional boxer and punched them in the face? I bet you they'll laugh at you, and they won't even lay a hand on you. They'll laugh at you and they'll say, listen, do that again, I'm going to break your nose. And you won't even know it was coming. And then they'll walk off, and they wouldn't give you another thought for the rest of their lives. And so that's why I think it's important. Because it's about building resilience. Should you have to? Well, not really, but we also live as human beings on planet Earth with the power and the capabilities to cause harm to other people. So just based on that, we should utilize that power for protecting ourselves against people that want to do bad things with that kind of power. It's kind of like just life. And then I would say definitely stay away from this UFC business. My apologies, everybody out there. I do watch that sometimes. UFC brings the idea to men, or possibly women as well, but it's like a men's thing in my view. You know, I'm just talking about the paradigm of what we see happening now. I think I talked about this a bit too much. The UFC portrays a picture much like in the early childhood educational paradigm. Something very similar, believe it or not, in early childhood education and in UFC. So in ECE and in UFC, there's a similarity. There's a similar indoctrination going on. And the indoctrination is that there is no cause and effect. UFC fans will argue that that's not true, but let me explain. UFC, well, we do it to ourselves through our own perception. Let me say this. In the UFC, everybody in the UFC, so you turn on the UFC channel on Sky or whatever the heck it is, it's UFC. But before you call it UFC, you've got all these people that sign essentially a contract. They agree to beating the crap out of each other. That's the cause. But that's not how we see it or how we experience it. We experience everything past that. So when Conor McGregor takes a gang of his friends and goes to some guy's bus in New York or whatever and starts firebombing it or whatever they're doing and beating the heck out of everybody, no one's saying, literally no one's saying, why did he do that? Who started that? There's none of that. It's Conor McGregor. It's UFC. It's just drama. It's just what is. And then the other thing that this is an obfuscation of cause and effect, is there's not really an effect in the sense that you have two people coming up for a fight. And for all intents and purposes, there's this drama, there's this beef. Oh, this guy said something, this guy said something, this guy said something. Oh, it's a big beef. And then whoever wins, well, that's squashed the beef. What beef? Who did what? Who did what to who? Who started what? There is no who started it in UFC. There is none. But everybody in UFC, everybody that watches and follows UFC, and the more they watch it, the more they have a sense of combat as a human and conflict. The more they have an understanding of how you're supposed to behave as a man in terms of conflict. When actually the UFC is training adult men to act like the boy wearing the dress that's going around hitting my nephew and his friends in early childhood. You might put on a UFC thing and someone gets up and puts someone in a headlock and they pass out. no one's really as upset about it as they should be, in the sense that that's extremely bad behavior for a human being to do to another human being under any circumstance. And then this is in contract, sport fighting. UFC tells you that there aren't really so many rules other than, punching people in the nuts and poking people in the eye. Other than that, as a man, you're kind of allowed to do whatever you want. But you see, the thing is, if someone came up to you and attacked you on the street from watching too much UFC, or started pushing you around and bullying you around, and you kick them in the nuts, people are going to look at you like you're a bad person because you started it, and you didn't. It's just that you did the thing that they think they know that morally you shouldn't do, and no one else is doing anything immoral because we're all men. Everything's just, 3 men walk into a bar and now it's this big fight. But then, this guy kicked this guy in the nuts. Oh, he's a terrible person. No one's sitting there going, well, who started it? Like, what's going on here? It's true, and this is in ECE as well as UFC. And that's another true story. People might know deep down, that person started it. But you better not say anything, because that's a challenge. That's a challenge to the title. And if you're challenged to the title, then you have to be willing to fight. And then if you lose, then you were wrong anyway. Because if you lose that fight, that means you were wrong, so you didn't even have the moral high ground to stand on in the first place. This is exactly the mentality of 2025 men and people in the bully victim paradigm of planet Earth. And it's exactly what's going on in ECE as well as UFC. It's all a true story. So, all that aside, very cool if you find a place. It's probably, honestly, for an under 7-year-old person on planet Earth right now, the best thing you could do is boxing classes. 5-year-olds, boxing classes. The best thing you can do. Because boxing, unlike, I can't speak for all martial arts because I haven't done them all. But with boxing in particular, there is part of boxing is about building up resilience. People might say boxing is not good because it's not great because it would just be in UFC. Well, there is boxing in UFC mixed with other things. But I'm just talking about this whole being able to stick up to bullies and to be resilient, to be strong, to be self-confident, and to bounce back. Boxing is about resilience, perseverance, and bouncing back. When I started boxing, I found it hard to go back because I was just getting beaten up. I mean, I still get beaten up. I still get beaten up by teenagers. But when I first started getting beaten up by teenagers, it was even more scary because I was complete jelly. So they're like, put your arm up to block the punch. And I'm like, what's the point of that? Now I've got 2 arms hitting me. I've got him punching me, and then I've got me punching myself because my stupid hand's in the way. So I'm getting 2 punches, and it really felt like I was getting punched twice. I'm like, I'd rather just lower my guard and get punched straight in the face than have my own hand punch me as well. But now that I've done it a lot more, I haven't done it a lot. Now that I've done it more, when I get punched, the block blocks it. And I know there's definitely smarter and more technical martial arts out there where you obviously the Eastern aspect, which the concept is I agree, is superior. Someone comes through a punch and you use that energy, so you're not actually absorbing it. But in boxing, there is absorption. Obviously, there is evasion. But I mean, that's the point with the boxing. It's corresponding with the mental, right? And the physical. So if you take on punches and just absorb and get on with it, absorb and get on with it. Like, obviously they're not all like that, but sometimes you take some punches. Even in other martial arts, sometimes you don't quite catch the punch with your tan sao, and you don't rotate the body with your strike and direct the energy back in kung fu. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and you just take the punch. So it's about, like I was saying. So the boxing thing is, it brings that concept out, like it's part of that concept is out in the open. And I just think that that is extremely important and healthy for humans in this day and age, especially for kids. Especially for kids. Because it's about building up those XP points on defense and resilience. So the bookworm artist child doesn't need to not be that in order to live their life, to live his life, to live her life. The parent doesn't need it to be either my boy's going to be a baby back Biatch or he's going to be Conan the Barbarian. There is plenty of ground in between those two things, which is where all of humanity is dotted around, because we're meant to be individuals. And my best example of the boy standing up to the bullies decided to occasionally play fight. One time in the day he'd have a little play fight with the now ex-bullies because he stood up to them, and they decided, oh, no, he doesn't want to take any of this. And so occasionally he would go and have a play fight with the rough boys. And then once they were going too rough, he'd say, you know what? I don't like how you guys are playing. I'm going to go back to reading my book. Or I'm going to go back to playing with these blocks. And then that's the thing. There are some people that just are born to be handsy with people. Just some people can't keep their hands off other people. It doesn't mean everybody has to match that person as an individual. But it also doesn't mean that all those people around suffering that, it doesn't mean that they don't have a responsibility because they're not like that. We're supposed to be our own heroes. Easier said than done, but hey, I've got the solution. Boxing. It is boxing. Or just martial arts classes that build up on these things. Resilience. Practicing against basic shoves and strikes. For 5-year-olds. Don't think you'd find anything at an earlier age. But man, if you found a martial arts place that does lessons for 5-year-olds, boy oh boy, you should be lapping that up and buying boxes and boxes of beer for the instructor. Seriously. Because once that's gone, there's just nothing. There's no, there's no externalized remedy. It's just you and your kid, and you just have to get your Jordan Peterson on and just figure out the psychology and just get into that mind and change it without it looking like that's what you're trying to do. Because if it does look like that's what you're trying to do, you're then sending the message that your mind is broken, you're not capable, and you need to be changed. Which is why it's important to practice what you preach. All of which is easier said than done. Alright, so just having a look here. Quick look on the chat room with 5 minutes to go before the ad break. Yes, that was the other thing I wanted to say. So, say you do want your child to be something. Well, question is who? What's an example of the kind of person you want your child to be? Say it's, I don't know. Say it is, say it's like Hulk Hogan, the late Hulk Hogan. Say you want your child to be exactly like how you saw your boy. You want your boy to be exactly like how you perceive Hulk Hogan to be in the WWF. Say that's it. So what you do is you get posters and pictures and photos of Hulk Hogan, and you stick them all around your house. And you have Hulk Hogan things. Hulk Hogan toy, Hulk Hogan thing. Not necessarily directly for your child, but just in the environment. Because every person is a symbol, and your image symbolizes who you are and what you do. And children are very much, absorbent of these things. This is how young children take on things symbolically. I think we talked last week. Did I talk last week about riding a train? Working on my Oracle card deck, the Family Bonding Oracle. It kind of addresses everything I'm talking about today. That, if you want your child to be setting goals when they're older, and, having good goals that are in sort of service to humanity or that are in consideration of the greater good or the greater connectedness of humanity, which means in light of natural law, right? Because the law of vibration essentially states that we're all connected, right? So if one suffers, all suffer. So if you want your child to get on board with that and to do good in the world, do big things in the world, well, you want to be riding trains. You want to put train riding into your life, as in part of your commute. Catch a train to the preschool. Saturday afternoon, go for a train ride. Go to a nice stop somewhere and have a picnic, a walk, whatever. Catch a train back. Have a toy train set at home. Have books about trains, because trains symbolize goal setting in light of our interconnectedness, believe it or not. So it's kind of fun. It's meant to be a reciprocated thing, the adult to child relationship. That what you put in, you get out of it in terms of spiritual advancement. Believe it or not, psychic advancement. Your talents, your, whatever we used to be when it was Lemuria or whatever the heck people talking about. Maybe you're clairvoyant, maybe you're clairsentient. You'll start getting your own synchronicities and serendipities and all that sort of thing for doing the right thing for kids and paying mind to what the future could be like, because that's the kind of mindset of, well, holistically, spiritually smart and caring and loving people. And Julia's just written a comment saying it happened this week. Oh, well, there you go. That's one of my other nephews. He's got a train set. And he loves trains. And he also loves motion and locomotion. So he's got a quarter train and he's got a train set. So he's probably going to be someone, if he has that inclination and he's supported by the symbolism of trains, he's going to be someone that sets goals and achieves them in consideration of other people too. Thanks so much for tuning in to Revolution.radio, Studio A. This is Otherworld Connections, your host Gino. And stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side of the ad break. Hello and welcome back to Otherworld Connections. I'm your host, Gino. And yes, you are tuned in to Revolution Radio. It is the number one listener-supported radio station in the whole world. So please consider helping our efforts and our airtime by supporting the station by making a donation. And there are many ways in which you can do that, all of which can be found on a website, revolution.radio. You can become a patron. You can become a donor. You can become a donor box. You can donate to donor box through donor box. You can make a direct payment, North America only. You can use crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Bitcoin Cash. Check. You can write a check or send a money order payable to Revolution Radio in US dollars if you are from outside the mainland US. And the address in which to mail it to is on the website revolution.radio. And the monthly goal of $3,000, we have already raised $1,588.25. Thank you so much. And there you go. And you can join our new Discord server by following the link on the homepage, revolution.radio. So there you go. Please support, join in, get involved, have fun. Do a show. There are a few slots available. What are you into? What do you feel like talking about? Well, you can do that here on revolution.radio. One of the bastions of free speech on the internet. Yes. So, I did pretty well. An hour of blah, 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 talking about bullying, early childhood education, development, child development, and self-defense, all of which are intertwined. And yet, that the child-parent relationship, caregiver-child, adult-child relationship is a spiritual practice that you receive spiritual dividends, much like I did when I was crazy enough to get into teaching for a few years. I do psychic mediumship readings for people in the community. Are they grateful for it? No. But I love doing it, and I look forward to doing more. And, to unpack as well how people do that as a career, as in they make a lot of money. I don't know if anything a psychic really was supposed to tell you could ever really be as monetary valuable as whatever people pay for these people. Does that make sense? It's advice that you may or may not choose to take. It's like offering somebody directions, and there's 5 ways they can go. I think it is valuable that you say, hey, it's better if you go down that one, but they don't have to. How valuable is that information? It's probably not considered valuable until after, and then you think, oh, I think that person was right. Anyway, I got my tarot cards out. First card of the day. This one just wanted to jump out. I hadn't even shuffled yet, but it fell out of the pack. The 7 of Pentacles. Here's the tarot deck that I'm using. If you're watching on Discord or on my YouTube stream, it's Influence of the Angels Tarot. Why? Because I went to the crystal shop with my pendulum and it chose it. That's why. You ever done that? It's kind of embarrassing. It's more embarrassing than it should be. Using a pendulum in a shop that sells pendulums, You should try it sometime. It's oxymoronic. People think you're absolutely mad. It's like, well, why do you sell them? Why do you sell them? Why are you in here? Boy, was that crystal shop upset when my pendulum said, don't need any more crystals. Went back one time 6 months later and they're like, where have you been? We're going broke. Sorry, got all the crystals I need. Thank you very much. But what happened? Where's that pendulum that tells you to give me all your money? Oh, dear. But what I want to do is, okay, so pentacles is, a material thing, obviously money, income, wealth, materialistic aspect. 7 is relatively complete number. Well, it might be to do with achieving goals. Success. Based on what we've been talking about. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like my volume keeps jumping up and down. Not much I can do about that. So I want to go to... Here we are. I want to go to this book, The Creative Tarot, A Modern Guide to an Inspired Life by Jessa Crispin. Now I want to see if... Yeah, I just want to go to this card, the 7s. Okay, we're just going to read this. Here with the 7s, because we've got the 7 of Pentacles here. We have to determine what it is we really want. This is harder than it sounds. Yes, it is. There are the things we think that we want out of a project. Fame, recognition, money. And then there are the things that will actually make us happy. Satisfaction, a stray letter from a fan who really understood your intentions. These things don't always line up, and that's where conflict comes in. Sometimes the only way to realize that the thing we've been dreaming about for so long isn't actually going to bring us joy is to get the thing and feel the disappointment. Oh, what's going on here? Maybe you've spent your whole life envisioning your book landing with a specific publisher, and finally, the house buys your book. Only the editor is not engaged. The cover art is terrible, and no one in publicity seems to care about you. Had you gone with a smaller publisher with more personal attention, perhaps your book could have found a better fit. But you had fixated on a fantasy rather than looking at the reality. Or maybe you've been writing songs and performing in very small rooms for years now, waiting impatiently for your big break. You see other people getting attention, making deals. Do you start to mold your own songs to sound more like theirs in the hope that you too will find success? I do that. I do that. Well, I listen to other people's songs and go, oh, those are so amazing. How do I write like that? There's also the question of what you are willing to do to get the thing that you want. Are you willing to get sneaky and take from someone else? Are you willing to stand your ground and fight hard? Or are you so uncertain about what you want that you're likely to just reach out to take anything that is offered to you? These are the questions that the 7s pose to us. Okay, let's go 7 of Pentacles. Just want to see what this book says. There we go. 7 of coins, as it's penned here. A man stands under a tree where coins are growing. He is not harvesting them, however, but waiting patiently. The man on the 7 of coins knows that now is not a time for action. It would be premature. Perhaps all the specifics are not known yet, or maybe not all of the players are in place. Either way, things have been put into motion, and eventually they will pay off. But not now. This card also suggests that not much work is required right now, except for patience. The work you did in the past was sufficient enough that for now you can rest or take on new tasks. So I'm taking this as a reading for the situation with my nephew. Okay? And this can be a lesson for anyone out there who is dealing with their preschooler being bullied. So, if someone was a parent and was listening, this could very well be for you. So why not? So let's keep reading this. Perhaps the best way to think about the 7 of coins is through the metaphor of waiting to harvest. You planted the seeds. You did all of the maintenance, protecting the plants from bugs and bad weather and disease. Now things are looking good and developing in a satisfying way. The budding fruit is on the tree, and yet you know you have longer to wait. If you harvest now, you will end up with bushels of hard, sour, underripe fruit. So you remain patient. You use your extra time to do other things. Think about the next season, and you wait for the ideal moment to bring in the harvest. There are always outside forces and internal, unhelpful thoughts as well, pressuring you to finish what you started, to publish or display the final work, to get things over and done with so that you can move on to the next thing. It can be difficult to see the virtue in sitting on something for a while, to wait for a moment you know is right, especially now. We're in an age of instant gratification, where albums are released online the moment they are done. Writing is published instantly. Artwork is shared on Tumblr. This must have been written in 2015. Part of that rush is the need for immediate feedback. It can be addictive to collect those likes and favorites. And there are so many media outlets struggling to keep up with the demand for new content that it can be easier to just slap something up there and move on to the next thing. Pulling the 7 of coins, though, says this is a mistake. You are not quite done. There's a refinement process that has to happen. It suggests that things are good enough. You could, if you really wanted to, just shrug your shoulders and say it's fine as is. But far better to wait for that moment when you know the work is its finest self and display it then. Yeah, and I'm taking this as advice for a parent to a bullied child. Okay, this is what the reading is today. And in my brother's situation, well, you have to wait. You just have to wait now. You do need to be patient, because it's between you and your boy. Those bullies are going to be around everywhere, and that's not okay. And, you know, the cards are stacked against you and your boy, because you don't fit the narrative that the world wants people to fit, for them to be safe and cared for in the community. And you need the community, because you got to work, you got to put food on the table, so you got to drop your kid off in the community that doesn't really want your kid to fit in the way that he should. And I say it's waiting for for those moments and those opportunities to have the conversation. You're doing good enough. And if your child is a kind, a softly spoken, gentle kind of kid, well, this dynamic is going to be part of the journey. Doesn't make it okay that happened. I know this sounds very left-wing psychotherapist, but it's true, right? It's true. So you're just going to have to hold on and hold off for a bit. And, getting ahead of myself, when the next incident happens, then it's opportunity for a conversation again with your boy, in the hope that you can guide through the conversation the idea that there are solutions other than what they're trying to indoctrinate your kid into believing. That there are other solutions to, oh, stop it, I don't like it. Common law, police, go away. Here's my magical piece of paper that absolves me of everything in the court system. Yeah. Don't forget I'm from New Zealand when I joke about that. It might be different in the States. It might be different. You might have magical things you can say and do. But here, no. So this is one of the curveballs of life that a softly spoken, gentle boy is going to be facing as part of life, because humans have the capability to do wrong and to do bad and to cause harm. And so that's something that's going to show up. Look at this. Recommended materials. Born to Run. Recording by Bruce Springsteen. Mastering the Art of French Cooking by Julia Child. Brooklyn Bridge designed by John Roebling. How's about that? That's what the author is here, associated with the Seven of Coins, aka Seven of Pentacles. Okay, let's do another card. What's this one? I think it's the World. No, it's Judgment. The Judgment card. There it is. Read it and weep. Judgment. So, okay, this is quite fun. We're going to stick with this book. So Judgment, it is really natural law. I think it is like cause and effect. It's addressing this whole thing. Let's see. There it is. All right. Judgment. Let's have a little ready read. Jesus returns to earth to judge the living and the dead. The dead rise from their graves, their bodily integrity restored. An angel of the Lord sounds a trumpet in the sky. While certainly there are religious overtones to the name of the card and its imagery, religious feeling is not necessary to interpret the card. Most religions, this is a bit, this is kind of liberal, this book, as we can start to see. I mean, let's have a look. Most religions, from Egyptian to Christian, have had some sort of mechanism for judgment after life. And this merely mimics the idea. It is an accounting of your mistakes and the damage you have done, and a call for you to make amends. Judgment is at number 20. How many of the world's artists were terrible people? Oh, so many. The American writer Gertrude Stein was a Vichy France collaborator. French novelist Louis Fernand Céline was a full-on Nazi. Arthur Koestler, the Hungarian-born writer, was a rapist. Legendary jazz trumpeter Miles Davis beat his wives. Michelangelo de Caravaggio, an Italian painter in the late 16th and early 17th century, was a murderer. And on and on. How many of them were able to fully understand and atone for their mistakes? Hardly any. Because they weren't feminists like me. I can think of one, though. Romania's Emil Cioran. Emil Cioran. One of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century. Fell under the sway of the Nazis when they first rose to power. He got a little too swept up by their rhetoric of strength and power, a little too starry-eyed in regard to the control and order they brought to their country. Many intellectuals and thinkers, from Knut Hamsun to Martin Heidegger, fell under the same spell, the exact people who should have known better. Eventually, Kieran was able to see the error in his thinking, and he used that mistake to think through a new round of philosophical thought. He atoned through philosophy. He was one of the few. That is the feeling of judgment, the need for absolution. The subject on the card here is the return of Jesus Christ to earth to judge the living and the dead. But to believe in that, we'd need to believe in the concept of sin. And we are beyond that, you and me. Still, the sensation is useful to us. This idea of judging your past wrongs, dealing with the ramifications and making amends. Probably you don't have Nazi worship in your past, but there are all sorts of other ways we hurt others and go wrong in our thinking. Judgment is a difficult task, but it offers a karmic restart. In order to progress as people or through a project, first we must find the moment that progress has stalled. There we will usually find an error. Instead of dealing with our misjudgments and the moments we were at our worst, we often just pile other things on top of them in the hopes they'll go away. That time we betrayed a friend and caused her serious harm, we don't talk about it or think about it. In fact, we don't really even see that friend anymore. Oh, it's so uncomfortable, right? That thing that enters your mind first thing in the morning, that terrible thing you did, that cringy thing you did, that uncomfortable thing, antisocial thing that you said or did, it comes back in the dead of night, the first thing in the morning when you wake up. Ooh. It's so hard to accept wrongdoing and apologize. So much so that oftentimes I think that I've done that and I haven't done it clearly. I've gone to kind of half do that. Picking around for acceptance or picking around for mercy and not actually addressing things directly. Back to the reading. It's a bit like the Alcoholics Anonymous idea of making amends by going through your past and expressing ruthless honesty and sincere remorse. This card doesn't necessarily have to do with your personal life. It could be a problem with your project that you are refusing to acknowledge and for which you are now just trying to compensate. Maybe you stole a part of someone else's work. Maybe you took credit for something you did not do. Maybe you willfully hurt someone with your portrayal of him or her. Come clean, make amends. It might not be a comfortable card, but Judgment does offer a new beginning, a life after death. But it's a card that knows that in order to be reborn, you must die first. Pat Rabbit's in the chat saying, born to run? From what? Hey, Pat Rabbit, it's rhetorical. Just, baby, we were born to run, baby, yeah. I have asked that question myself of that song. I definitely don't get the context of the card, right? I think that's what you're referring to. Because it was talking about waiting, not running. Running away is not waiting. But maybe it's like, go for a run and come back later. Oh, good to hear from you, Mr. Pat Rabbit. Pat Rabbit, I'm trying to read that while above you is a gif of a squirrel shaking his his frontal area around with the phrase, "You ready for these nuts?" on it. I've got to scroll down. That is the funniest gif I've seen in a long time. Had nothing to do with me. It was who's that? I don't get the names up. B dot dot dot. Oh well. Good GIF B dot dot. Looks like a female too. I don't know. I don't know. I've got to move away from that, Pat. I've got to move away for my sanity. For my professionalism. All right. Judgment. Let's see what this judgment, my little booklet says too. I think it's really, for this reading and based on the theme, you know, the concerned parent who has the child being bullied, which is probably the most crucial dynamic that, you know, and most important to change in the world. I just want to get to the bottom of this through the tarot. But my feeling is it's just more to do with this this dynamic of, you know, who's to blame, like who started it and what to do about that. And obviously the next card's going to tag on. But for now, I do like reading these things. These little blurbs. Yeah, so reckoning with your past is saying a similar thing, like forgiveness. So is this to do with forgiveness? Having the inner freedom to move on? No, is this about transformation? Yeah. So is this like in terms of the transformation of the child? Yeah, yeah. So that's what we're talking about in the first hour, right? So the judgment, it's about making amends. It's about getting the child, your child, as the victim to make amends, and not amends. I mean, make amends as in what we know, as he's going to have to start doing something about it. Easier said than done. I mean, you don't want your kids turning out like me. You really don't. Okay, so you got to get your kids to start sticking up for themselves. And the only reason anything good about me is what you might see is because I did some sticking up for myself at some point. Just maybe overall I haven't done enough. All right, this one's jumped out. This this deck kind of gives me the creeps, but here we are. King of Pentacles. So back on Pentacles. All right. So we're going to write these down anyway. I'm going to have a little phrase by the end of the hour. So in 25 minutes, we're going to have a little paragraph that addresses this, provides a solution. So starting off is be patient. Wait for opportunities to address the problem. know that you have done enough already. Don't worry too much. That's the kind of vibe. And then we move to judgment. It's, what was the word that we said? Making amends. To make amends. I don't know if it's how I talk or there's that clicky thing. I set this limiter. I change the settings slightly every time I go online to get rid of the click. Maybe I'll change it down for fun. Click. Well, we'll see if I sound different now. Yeah, if anyone wants to let me know if they think it sounds better now that I'm changed some of the settings, that would be good. But yeah, so the next card is the King of Pentacles. So let's go to the Kings. The Kings, should we say this? The Kings might as well be renamed the Philosophers, at least for our purposes. Belonging to the quality of air, the Kings represent thought, detachment, reason. In order to gain perspective and truly understand something, you have to get far enough away from it. Take an aerial view so that you can see it in its entirety. That is what the king is able to do. He removes himself from the situation so that he can assess it dispassionately. Like all of the other court cards, the kings are more about behavior and character than they are about gender. The king does not necessarily represent a man. Instead, it is the quality of thought that distinguishes the king. So when a king appears, it is time to get philosophical. All of your messy, wonderful feelings, put them to the side. Your hopes and desires, the same. It is time to think through your problem in a cool, reasoned manner. And the suit of the king that appears will show you how and where to do this. The king differs from something like justice. However, by his or her methods, it is not about distancing oneself in order to see what is fair. It is about distancing oneself to see the truth. To be the king, one must first be wise. And so these cards might be calling you to add to your reading list. You cannot simply rely on common sense or skimming a New Yorker article to save you here. In order to fully understand something, one must examine it from every angle and consider different viewpoints. This is about pursuing wisdom. But let's go to the King of Coins here. Here we find the Stoics, the economists, and the pragmatists. Also the communists and the radicals. It's money and work that find their philosophical centers here, as well as the body and the earth. Interesting. Well, I think it's talking about the body. And taking a higher order sort of thought to the whole thing is, what are you going to do about it? Well, it's literally a self-defense thing, isn't it, guys? It's literally a 3D reality, self-defense. Something radical. Opening up the book here, straight to the King of Pentacles, opening up on the page, providing a sturdy foundation. Just one moment. I'm surrounded by pendulums. Building something strong and durable. Is it about being a dependable leader? Yes. Okay, so it's what we were talking about anyway, and that's what I'm thinking. So me leading by example and doing self-defense classes. Yeah. So, to make amends, start to learn self-defense. That's the adult. That's you, the grown-up. Yeah? If your kid's being bullied, then you need to go and do self-defense lessons. You're going to learn how to deal with it psychologically, spiritually, mentally, all that stuff. You're going to learn about it yourself. And you being a person that goes to do self-defense classes increases. Oh, sound is better. Thank you so much, Pat Rabbit. And thank you so much, Julia, for telling me. Yeah, it's funny. In my headphones, it doesn't sound as great, but there's not that clicky thing. That's gone. So, appreciate that. See, I should ask questions more often. Thank you so much. So yeah, self-defense classes for the adult. Easier said than done, but that's the thing. That's just the way it is. I don't think anyone ever regrets doing that. All right, on to the next card. On to the next card. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I should try and set this up so I can be seen better. This card's stuck in my hand, so we use it. Ooh, Emperor. The Emperor, masculine energy. Yeah, let's look at this. Let's look at this book. It's quite fun to read. So, the Emperor. A man sits on a throne in a sparse setting. His throne is often decorated with rams' heads. The Emperor represents order and power. He is the patriarch, and so his concern is with establishing a foundation for not only his own work, but also that of generations to come. He takes full responsibility for his actions. He provides structure. He is represented by the number 4. And 4 is also a number for home, family, mum, dad, 2 kids at home, which is very interesting because this is a family issue we're addressing here, right? Where the Empress is soft, the Emperor is strong. Where the Empress is emotional, the Emperor is detached. And he wants to maintain order, and he is building something that is going to take the next 50 years to manifest. He is patient and forward-looking. So again, there's this patient vibe with this. So maybe it's not as bad as even I think it is. When you hear these stories, like when I was hearing that today with my brother, I was kind of getting all like, I want to go down there right now and beat the crap out of these parents. And there's a sense of urgency to it. He is patient and forward-looking because where the Empress wants to express herself, the Emperor wants to gain power. This might sound a bit icky to some of you feminists out there. You might not want to admit to yourself that you wish to dominate and control. Yes, but you can use dominance and control to protect yourself from other dominators that shouldn't be trying to dominate you or dominating you. You might think it's gross to mix power and art, but someone's got to win the Nobel Prize every year, right? And I'm starting to cringe out on this book, man. And to have that as a goal, not just the ego gratification part of it, but also the achieving excellence part of it, is not a terrible thing. Consider the Emperor to be the Germany card. Contemporary Germany, not, you know. Is this lady Jewish? Is the author Jewish? Let's lose my place in the queue. About the author, Jessa Crispin is editor and founder of Book Slut. Bookslut.com and Spolia. She's written for the New York Times, of course, The Guardian, of course, The Washington Post, of course, Boston Review, don't know, LA Review of Books, probably, of course, Architect Magazine, The Globe, and Mail, and other publications. Her first book, The Dead Ladies Project, Exile, Expats, and Ex-Countries, was published by the University of Chicago Press. She has lived in Ireland. I kind of feel like I'm doing like some inverse free speech when I read these kind of things. Like on a free speech channel, and then I'm reading stuff by left-wing feminists. But the cool thing is, like, it gets to a point where the symbols don't lie. So, like, even a tarot book written by some neo-feminist or whatever is still going to have some relevance. Some. And this is kind of funny, I think. I hope. She currently lives nowhere in particular because places are oppressive. I made that bit up. Oh, Crispin. Okay, Crispin, is that... Anyway. We've done enough exploration of her as author. Where was I? Excuse me, the Emperor. But yeah, she's trying to play down the Emperor, but she's also admitting that it is what it is. Yeah, consider the Emperor to be... Oh, not the Germany, yeah. Trains run on time, there is an order to things. The Emperor doesn't have to be rapacious, taking from others to add to what it is already, which is more of a Seven of Swords or a devil kind of thing. It's about tending to its own state in a reasonable way, using that energy creatively. So is this Emperor card about the energy that we want to instill in the bullied child? Yes. Okay. So is the next card going to be something to do with that? Yeah, so her explanation is obviously just like trying to disempower and demasculinize the masculinity of the Emperor. So she admits what the Emperor means, but then writes a whole novel trying to play it down. I mean, this one really just jumped up. The Three of Wands. I like that there are 3 staffs in this because, you know, martial arts, a lot of them have sticks and stuff. Oh, Three of Wands. Come on. Okay, let's see what let's see what old Jessa Crispy has to say about it. Come on, Crispy. Let's see. Come on. Three of Wands. See, I mean, you give somebody a microphone because, like, here I am, like, kind of, I'm using her book. I'm taking the mickey out of her. And, you know, probably if I sat down with her to a debate, I'd just get my ass handed to me and look like a complete fool in the process. Julia in the comments section, Emperor equals influence upon others. Thank you. Cooler heads prevail. So would this be about the bully? Just to see if just in case I'm off track, is it about the bully influencing themselves on others. But does this come down to, yeah, because if you defended yourself, you would be influencing the other person, right? Influencing the other person not to, and this is not me arguing, this is me just clarifying the whole thing. So sticking up for yourself is masculine, and it is influencing others. It'll be influencing others in the room, which I do think that, like my brother, I think that is tied in with self-defense, because you don't want to be, like, if you want your kid to be someone that sticks up for himself, there's more to that desire, right? It's not just, I want to see my kid beating up other kids that are the bad guys. It's more that you don't want that stuff to happen, and you want your kid to be kind of self-empowered enough to do something about it, so they become a capable, effective person in the world. So it's bigger than just, looking like a tough person kind of thing. Yeah. All right. So we're 3 of Wands. Running out of time. Here you are asked to cultivate a sense of adventure. It's about creating a life of passion, about approaching new opportunities with excitement instead of fear. Okay, so if we just take that at face value, it is an opportunity for a life lesson to be learned. The excitement of dealing with a conflict, that in the sense it doesn't have to be as big a deal as it really is. Going back to the analogy of the boxer, you walk down the street and you go and punch Mike Tyson in the face. Well, Mike Tyson's probably a really bad example. Maybe not at the moment. But say you shoved Mike Tyson and said, you want to go MF? You want to go? And you give him a shove and you go, yo, what's up? I don't know. Is he going to just immediately put you in hospital? I don't think so. I think they just think it's funny. A shove is like nothing. A shove is like, excuse me. Shove is like, oh, hey there, sir. To a boxer. To somebody that's experienced with fighting, a shove's nothing. A punch from someone that doesn't know how to punch is nothing. That's just, hey, can I have your attention, please? So, changing the view of this to something exciting and something that you can have a shared passion about, dare I say, with your kid. Dealing with bullies, dealing with these kind of struggles. Okay, should we go on to the next card? I forgot to write. Okay, so taking stand up to bullies, to stop them, to influence change, view it as exciting, new, learning, new opportunity for learning to share with your kid. And in turn the community, because, say if my brother manages to knock this on the head, I've just been writing this down because I want to be able to, in 5 minutes, say the whole thing in one go. So this has turned out to be a really, really cool episode. I don't know how to make it like more engaging. I don't know how to make it like not 2 hours of blah, 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 just to end up with one like like 3 sentences. But these 3 sentences are going to be, I swear, like literally the solution. Literally the solution to bullying. And to solve bullying is to save the world. So as self-aggrandizing as that say, it's not me, it's just the cards and what anyone, like what a lot of you guys know, especially if you're listening and you're involved in the freedom community, you probably know these things, and if you're American, you probably know it better than most too. But I swear that now, as the world gets more and more polarized, you're coming into the world either as a bully or a victim, and neither are acceptable in the eyes of God. And here we go. Last 2 cards. Are we starting with the 5 of Swords? No, we're starting with the Page of Swords. So Swords is an air kind of card, and thoughts, and so on and so forth. So Page of Swords, let's go to the, here we go, Page of Swords. Let's see what this lady, Crispy, wants to say. This page can show up like a fly buzzing in your ear. The annoyance of it wakes you up and moves you to action. It might be an argument or a puzzle that draws an idea out of you. Okay, it's not. So it's a new idea. I think it's a new idea. And then a 5 of Swords. 5 of Swords, here it is to do with, yeah, like kind of conflict. Get up, it's time to go. So Crispy's saying there's a situation that is hopeless, that you know is hopeless, but you've invested so much time you can't make yourself walk away. Get up, it's time to go. I think it's more time to go further into it when it is time. In many ways, the situation is hopeless because other than the opportunity for learning and growing a sense of self-esteem through self-defense and not caring about consequences, other than that, it is kind of hopeless. I think. So, Page of Swords, like a new idea. I am thinking that with the 5 of Swords it means sort of treat this like war, even though the directive is to be patient, as in wait for the opportunities, but you're waiting for the opportunities like Sun Tzu. I really do think that this is what's being said here. Come on, Gino, we're running out of time. It's only because I don't say these things confidently enough. We don't really need this book, but it's just to provide a bit of context to, you know, what I know and what the book knows. All that matters is winning. Content for playing by the rules. What it's like to be a winner and a loser. Bullying. No concern for right or wrong. Selfish. Before you engage in conflict. New idea. Find a way to get along. Alright, so be patient. Wait for opportunities to address the situation. Know that you have done enough already and don't worry too much. To make amends, start to learn self-defense yourself as the adult to be an inspiration to your kid. Take the desire to stand up to bullies, stop them and to influence change. View it as an exciting new learning opportunity to share with your kid, as in don't take it too seriously, and focus on it as a way to learn and grow with life's challenges. And a new idea is have a look at a way that you can get along with the bully. That's after you smack them in the face. That's my opinion there. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you at the next one. Okay, that's the end of the live stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Love you all. See you at the next one, eh?